Some mysteries are baffling because there are too few clues. And then there are others that have way too many, all pointing in completely different directions. We're about to dive into one of the most tragic and confusing cases in recent memory, the disappearance of the Jamison family. So, our story kicks off like something out of a movie. October 2009. Deep in the remote Sandsboy Mountains of Oklahoma, some hunters are out, and they stumble across an abandoned pickup truck. Nothing too strange yet, right? But what was inside that truck would launch a mystery that to this day, nobody can solve. Okay, get this. 8 days after the family was last seen, investigators finally get into the locked truck. And what do they find? Hidden right under the driver's seat is a bank bag, and it's stuffed with cash. We're talking nearly $33,000. For a family that was living on disability payments, this was an absolute fortune. And right away, we hit the central nagging question of this entire case. They left behind all that cash, but they locked their family dog, Maisie, inside the truck. When she was found, she was severely malnourished, just clinging to life. Why? Why would you leave behind a life-changing amount of money but abandon your pet to starve? It just doesn't add up. A closer look at what was left in the truck just makes things even weirder. You've got their wallets, their IDs, cell phones, jackets, literally everything you would need to survive or, start a new life somewhere else. And what's really crucial here? There were absolutely no signs of a struggle. It was as if the family just parked, locked the doors, and simply vanished into the woods. So, who exactly were the people at the heart of this? Let's talk about Bobby and Sherilyn Jamison and their little 6-year-old daughter, Madison. Because to understand this mystery, you have to understand that this was a family living under an incredible amount of pressure. Both Bobby and Sherilyn were unemployed and living on disability checks. Bobby was in constant chronic pain from a really bad car accident years earlier, and Sherilyn had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which friends said got much worse after her sister died tragically. So you've got this backdrop of physical pain, mental health struggles, and financial strain. It's a lot for any family to handle. And in the months before they went missing, things started getting strange. They were seriously looking to buy a remote plot of land to go live off the grid. Then Bobby files a protective order against his own father, claiming the man was mixed up with gangs and had threatened to kill them all. At the same time, Sherilyn's mom was telling people her daughter was on a cult's hit list. And on top of all that, they told their pastor they were engaged in spiritual warfare with ghosts, haunting their own home. So all this paranoia wasn't just talk. It started showing up in the real world, leaving behind this trail of bizarre clues that has completely stumped investigators. The picture these clues paint of the family's final days is, well, it's almost hard to believe. Yeah, you read that right. This sentence was found spray-painted on a storage container on their property. A friend of Sherilyn's later said that Sherilyn believed a neighbor had killed their cats, so she wrote this bizarre message, apparently trying to scare them off by playing into this interest she had in witchcraft. It's a really clear window into their unusual, almost confrontational mindset at the time. But maybe the most chilling piece of evidence is the security footage from their own home recorded the day they left. It shows Bobby and Sherilyn just moving back and forth, silently, slowly, packing their truck. They seemed dazed, almost like they're in a trance, sometimes just stopping and staring into space for no reason. It made everyone wonder if they were on drugs, but investigators never found a single shred of evidence to back that up. So you have to ask, how could two people act so strangely, but in perfect sync with each other? Well, some experts have suggested a very rare condition called folie à deux, which basically means a shared madness. It's where one person's delusion can actually be transmitted to another, becoming a shared belief. It could potentially explain their shared paranoia about cults and ghosts, and even that bizarre trance-like behavior we see on the tape. And then, on Bobby's cell phone, which was recovered from the truck, investigators found this picture. It's the very last known image of Madison, taken up on that mountain right before they all disappeared. Her expression in this single photo has become one of the most debated pieces of evidence in the entire case. So, what do you see? Is this just a typical 6-year-old, tired and fed up with having her picture taken? Or is it something darker? Her arms are crossed tight, her face looks tense. Family and friends were adamant that this was not Madison. They said she loved the camera.
To them, she looks deeply unhappy, or maybe even terrified.
Okay, so with all of these strange clues and conflicting pieces of evidence, you can bet the theories about what happened are all over the map. Let's try to sort through the main possibilities that everyone has been looking at for all these years. All right, let's break it down. Theory number 1, murder-suicide. I mean, they did find an 11-page hate letter that Sherilyn wrote to Bobby, and we know they both had mental health issues. But no weapon was ever found. And why take the dog just to leave it in the truck? It doesn't quite fit. Okay, what about a drug deal gone wrong? They had a huge amount of cash, they were acting like they were high, and that area was known for meth labs. But again, no drugs or paraphernalia were ever found. And would you really take your 6-year-old daughter to a meth deal? Then there's the cult theory, pushed hard by Sherilyn's mom. It sort of fits with their whole spiritual warfare belief system. But police could never find a concrete link to any actual cult. And finally, foul play. Maybe from Bobby's dad. But then why would a murderer leave $32,000 in cash behind? See what I mean? Every single theory has a giant hole in it.
For 4 incredibly long years, these theories were all anyone had. The family had just evaporated. But then, in 2013, the case took its final heartbreaking turn. Can you just imagine the agony for their loved ones? 4 years of searching, of wondering, of holding on to some sliver of hope. Then, in November of 2013, some hunters stumbled across skeletal remains. It still took another 8 months of forensic work to confirm what everyone had feared all along. They had found the Jamisons.
And the way they were found is just chilling. The remains were less than 3 miles from where they left the truck. The 3 of them were lying side by side, face down in the dirt. Now, to a lot of people, that doesn't sound like a family who got lost in the woods and succumbed to the elements. To them, it looked like an execution. And here it is, the final, most frustrating dead end of all. Because the bodies had been out in the wilderness for 4 years, they were so badly decomposed that the medical examiner couldn't determine a cause of death. They couldn't find signs of trauma, but they couldn't rule it out either. So officially, the cause of death for Bobby, Sherilyn, and little Madison Jamison is, and might just forever be, unknown.
And that's where we're left. The Jamison family mystery isn't a mystery because of a lack of clues. It's a mystery because of a glut of them. You have drugs, cults, mental illness, family feuds, ghosts. Every single piece of evidence just opens another door while failing to close any of the old ones. It really makes you wonder, when a case has so many clues all pointing in opposite directions, how can we ever really hope to find the truth?